Greetings, salutations, and hello. I am James Roth, a theater major at USC, and this lesson is for people who, like me, come from low-income households. That's because this lesson is about getting into QuestBridge. QuestBridge is a program that connects high-achieving students from low-income backgrounds with top colleges. Students apply to QuestBridge, and if they get in and become a finalist, they are eligible to apply for matches at up to 12 of the schools that partner with QuestBridge. If the school that the student selected also selects them, a match is made, the student is locked in to attend that school, and among other benefits, the family contributions in that student's financial aid package are exactly $0. Even if a finalist doesn't get a match, such as myself, they still have a higher chance of getting into a top school because they have QuestBridge's seal of approval, so to say. QuestBridge students who get in via regular decision still get a pretty high financial aid package, so it's an invaluable boon for any aspiring college student who doesn't have much support in the form of Benjamins. Having become a QuestBridge finalist myself, this lesson will contain all of my advice for getting through this specific application process and all of my best wishes for the same to happen to you. The QuestBridge application's criteria are practically identical to what you're going to have for any old scholarship or college application. And that's nice because it means the things you've been doing these past few years are actually going to be helping towards it. You know, you've got your GPA, your transcript, your test scores that you're going to be sending in, and then you've got, you know, some short answer questions for them to get to know you. And then, of course, the famous or infamous essays. QuestBridge specifically has 2 essays, and the second one is actually like really similar to the Common App. It's 500 words. It has only 3 topics instead of the 7 that Common App has. But 2 of the prompts for this QuestBridge one are very similar. And so really, you can just reuse your Common App essay. Of course, check to make sure that the prompts do line up. And you'll probably have to tweak it a bit. I did some tweaking with mine, but this just all goes to show that it's a very similar sort of thing. You know, they're looking for a lot of similar qualities. What it is with QuestBridge is that while they are looking for strong applications, they're also looking for the application, you know, they show a lot of potential. So while a regular scholarship would just be like, oh yeah, sorry, you're not as strong as the other contestants, move along. QuestBridge is looking for the ones where, okay, you're on the right track, you're doing well, but it looks like money, specifically money, has been a limiting factor for you. Don't get me wrong, I think that my application was formidable, but I think that the average application that you got from the other students here at USC was by far more impressive than mine. So I think that I got in here just because I had that seal of approval, that stamp from QuestBridge. And then I think that I got into QuestBridge because I had an essay that showed my potential despite there not being as much in my application right there at the moment. But like, I've been in so many fewer shows than a lot of other actors at my age. Going into theater, you'd think you'd want a ton of that experience. And yet I believe that my essay was able to make up for that lack that I had because I didn't have the money to be going into and doing all of these other classes and these out of school productions and stuff. The first essay for QuestBridge, this one is 800 words, and this is really the main thing that's different and that you want to be focusing on. And so I've got the prompt here. It's rather long. It goes, we are interested in learning more about you and the context in which you have grown up, formed your aspirations, and accomplished your academic successes. Please describe the factors and the challenges that have most shaped your personal life and aspirations. How have these factors helped you to grow? Yes, it's pretty open wording, but they have tips on their website. I would highly recommend going in and looking through those, by the way. But you can see from the tips there, they don't just mean any circumstances. They want you to talk about the circumstances that you have that are specific to you having been low income. And that sort of stuff isn't normally very fun. Usually what you get, or the connotation of having less money, is having more suffering, less comfort. And so it's very tough to be both focusing on these factors that are relating to and revolving around you having had a low income and yet stay positive. But that is what they want. What you want to see is someone who has gone through the flames and come out unscarred or undeterred despite their scars and burns. So with this essay, you want to be giving off a feeling, I guess, of victory. So to do that, I recommend before you get into this essay, you just take some time and think through those experiences, the ones that were challenging, and just sit with them for a while and let them sink in. Yeah, you'll probably have to deal with some weird waves of emotion that you've been trying to avoid, and just come to terms with that, and then detach the emotion from it. Basically, you don't need to add any of that emotion yourself through the adjectives, because it's just commonly understood from the fact of the matter that yes, this was tough. Once you've taken away that emotion or processed that emotion, you can think about how these things have changed you, because that's also what they're interested in, or that's more what they're interested in. They care about what there was, but then they care what came of it. So what in your personality is because of that factor there, and what of your past achievements have been despite those factors. You know, what is it that you have gained from this? What skills? And also just what parts of your general lifestyle have been influenced by a lack of funds. So for me, you know, I'm really used to having a lot of meals at home and a lot of buying in bulk because it's on sale and we have the same thing, but we cook it 10 different ways and it's so good, all 10 of those different ways. You know, what in your lifestyle have you become accustomed to that you're realizing, oh, this isn't just how the entire world is. This isn't every family. That is what you're looking for. But with that first part, you want to pull out the emotions, and still with the latter part, with how it's changed you, you don't want it to be a tone of, oh yeah, it forced me to be this way. No, here was the problem. Here is how I got around it. And then once you have that and it's all been detached, that's when you start to translate it into the writing. And now I think it'd be good to just take my essay and go through that. Well, okay, I'm not going to just read through the thing and force you to sit through all that. I have already gone through it and pulled out parts that I think are places where I demonstrate these tips that I brought up, and also the parts where I think I didn't do it as well and could have improved, and what specific ways I could have improved those in. So, growing up, my family lacked the money to create a smooth, clear runway from which I could take off. I have lived in 9 different houses, the longest time the same one being from ages 3 to 7. I have followed 8 unique school curriculums, 3 in high school alone, each with differing graduation requirements. Most of these changes were because tuition or housing became too expensive wherever we were at the time. Some house or school changes left me in the same city, but each still altered who I could spend free days with and what activities I could commit to. After a few moves demolished that stability I depended on, I started focusing on training my adaptability to new circumstances, rather than trying to tailor each environment to my preferences. Now, the things I actually did want to point out, first of all, are places where I use neutral language instead of flavorful stuff. For specifically this, it's weird because usually we're gonna want that flavorful stuff, but I use words like lacked. My family lacked the money to create a smooth runway. Alternatives that I may have used were, I may have said my family was too poor, or I might have said my family didn't quite have the money. And so for both of these examples with the were too poor, that just gets pessimistic. And the reason you don't need to add in this flavorful text here is because that's just inherent in the situation. Another thing is how I took, and this is just a way to take out some of the emotion, which was I would take things and make them into just like a normal set of statistics. So I went with, oh, I lived in 9 houses and I was never in the same house for longer than 4 years. I went through 8 unique school systems, 3 of them were in high school. These were the circumstances. And then now after that is when you get into the personal stuff, the emotional stuff of this is how I worked hard to get around it. The other thing that I do is I have a sort of cause and effect thing that I show them. This led to this, that led to that. And another reason why you want to have that early step of taking the emotion out of it and just putting it down on paper so you can see these connections and draw these connections instead of having them be clouded by the emotion that is there. And so that was where I talked about, I had these altered activities and friends. Why? Because of the change in house or school system. And this is good because it shows your analytical skills. And so what is good there is that you're showing to them that you can look at things that are deeply personal and emotional to you, which is just a good emotional and just regular maturity thing to have in general. And I'd say for the overcoming stuff, then that's when you want to be ramping up the emotion. Before writing that first essay, separate your negative emotions from your experiences, arrange them, and then as you begin writing, tell them as they were, at face value. Turn on the triumph a bit as you begin to explain how you got through them and where they leave you now. You aren't telling this tale as a bystander of a battle you survived. Rather, you are the victor, boasting of the things you bested in that battle and showcasing the spoils of your war. So go, tell your story, and I hope this lesson gave you the extra bit of vigor and knowledge that you'll need to fight your way to the top.